All right, what's up everyone? So on this video, I'm going to talk about some of the urban areas, suburban areas, and rural areas where you can live. So if you're thinking about moving to the Seattle area and you're trying to figure out what the best spot might be for you, I'm going to talk about some of the top locations that fit these three categories. So if you're looking to be in a hustling, bustling downtown urban area, or you're looking to be out in the country somewhere, or something in between, you can start to get a good feel for some of the options that you might have in some areas that you should really consider. So I first want to talk about the urban areas. Now we really have two main locations that we're going to go over here for urban options. The first one, of course, is Seattle. In the absolute center of our Seattle metropolitan area, Seattle is one of the best spots, of course, for an urban living location. Now you're going to have a lot of different neighborhoods in and around the Seattle proper area to consider. This might be affected by where you're working or what type of lifestyle you want, if you have a car, if you're relying on public transportation, but we're going to go over a few of the neighborhoods and areas within Seattle proper here. So let's jump into the map here. You can see we've got Seattle right in the middle here. As we zoom in, the first area I want to talk about here is just south of Lake Union and into downtown. This kind of corridor right through here is going to be very, very popular for people to move to when they're looking for an urban lifestyle. Now, of course, when you're right here in South Lake Union, this is where a lot of those that move here that are working maybe at Google or Amazon or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, something like that. It's going to be a very young professional demographic. As we zoom in here, you can see South Lake Union Park right here. That's a great little spot if you want to just go for a walk, taking views of the water. You want to launch a kayak or a paddleboard or something like that. It is very nice that you can be right downtown here, but still have, you know, water recreation activities that you can walk to from your apartment or condo. So as we zoom out here, you can see a lot of these buildings are going to be apartment complexes. A lot of these are office buildings, and you will have some condos. Now, for the most part, most of the condos are going to be a little bit further south than right in Lake Union here. They're going to be closer to Denny Way and the Denny Triangle up here when you're talking about actual condo buildings that you can purchase, but there are a number of apartment buildings all throughout here. If you're working at Amazon, which is a common, you know, location for people to be moving to South Lake Union for, you're going to be right here at the Amazon Spheres. So it's a cool little spot. They've got free banana stand down here every day for everybody walking by, and there's a restaurant in the Spheres and offices and all that kind of stuff. So it is a true urban downtown area. You can see the Space Needle right over here in Lower Queen Anne. That's nice and close. The other area out down here that we will also talk about on this side is Belltown. It's just to the south side, southwest side of the Denny Triangle, and so there's a lot of condos and apartments through here as well. And as you're getting into Belltown, now you're close to the waterfront down in Seattle, which is very nice. Some of these places could have views, will have views of the Sound, and so there's some beautiful, you know, condo and apartment units that can take advantage of being right on the Puget Sound. The other area here I'll talk about kind of on this side of Seattle is Capitol Hill. It's right next to, we talked about South Lake Union right here, just on the other side of I-5. Capitol Hill is a very, you know, young professional demographic. This is the nightlife scene, so if that's something that you're considering, you want to be very close to where everything's going on, all the nightlife is happening, that is right here in Capitol Hill. So you can see all these condos and apartment complex all the way through here. That's what most of the living situation on this side of Capitol Hill is going to be. If you do want a single family home, but you want to be in an urban location and still walkable to Capitol Hill and everything down here, there are nice neighborhoods through here with some very, very beautiful homes here in Capitol Hill. Some very nice old architecture, lots of different styles through here. And then you've got Volunteer Park through here as well. So this is a very, very common area for especially young professionals to relocate to when they're moving over this area, and maybe they're having taken a job in Seattle. Now, the next section that I will talk about in terms of Seattle neighborhoods is just north of Lake Union here. Now, this is my favorite neighborhood in Seattle. I don't live in Seattle proper, but if I did, this is probably where I would move, and it's Green Lake right here in the middle. Now, I've done a video on Green Lake here on my channel in the past, but Green Lake it's a little bit different of a vibe than when you're close to downtown here. Downtown in South Lake Union and Capitol Hill is a little bit more hustle and bustle, a little bit busier, everybody going to and from work. When you're in Green Lake here, it's a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. The big reason for that is the lake right in the middle. So on Green Lake, you have this 2.8 mile paved trail, Green Lake Trail, that goes all the way around the lake here. So, you know, we've been here many times. I grew up going here all the time. You can go for a jog around the lake, take your dog, ride the bike, take your rollerblades, whatever the case is. You can take your kids, you can go swimming on the lake here. Again, launch a kayak or paddleboard. So that's one of the reasons so many people love relocating to Seattle, especially when they're comparing it to some other cities. Maybe they're comparing it to Portland and Denver and some other spots. When you're in Seattle, it's so unique that you have such great access to outdoor and water recreation right in the middle of the city. And so it's a pretty unique factor to living in Seattle, and something that people just absolutely love. Through Green Lake here, you've got a lot of great older homes. Again, in Seattle, it's going to be older homes on average. You're going to have, you know, new construction one-offs here and there, and some new construction condo and apartment buildings. But most of the single-family homes are going to be early 1900s to 1950s, 1960s, all the way through here next to Green Lake. These are very nice neighborhoods. Some just beautiful architecture through here. I love just walking through these neighborhoods and looking at some of these homes. You've got ball play fields all over the place here in Green Lake. You're going to have a lot of restaurants and whatnot scattered throughout on the side of Green Lake here. So if you want to come down and just spend a day hanging out the park and then walk across the street to get some food, that is a very common thing and a great option as well. So there's a lot going on here at Green Lake, and it's just a great area. You're so convenient to everything, and there's a lot of great homes in this area. All right, now of course there's a lot of other neighborhoods in Seattle that can be good fits as well. I can't go over every neighborhood on one video. This video would be 2 hours long, but those are really the most common spots that I see people focusing on, either closer to that downtown area, whether that's Belltown, South Lake Union, Capitol Hill, or right downtown, or going a little bit further north in the Green Lake area. A lot of people really, really love to shift their focus on living in those areas, specifically in Seattle proper. Now, the other kind of urban area that I'll guide you towards and give you some info on here is Bellevue. It's right across the water. Now, Seattle and Bellevue feel like two completely different areas, and it's not just me as somebody that's lived here my whole life. Whenever I have clients visiting over here and they check out both areas, they confirm this fact as well. Seattle feels a lot older, a lot more creative and artistic, and a lot more, you know, hole-in-the-wall cool places to go eat, and a lot more like cool architecture and a little bit younger crowd going on. As you go over to the Bellevue area, it's a little bit poshier, a little bit more bougie than you are in Seattle. Seattle struggles with crime and homelessness and public drug use and graffiti and all that kind of stuff that goes along with some of these big downtown cities. When you go over to Bellevue, you do not suffer from that stuff. It is much cleaner. It is much nicer. It is more stale. People feel that it lacks as much character as Seattle, but there are trade-offs there. So there's a lot more luxury stuff in Bellevue, a lot of luxury homes, a lot of high-end luxury shopping. Bellevue is the most expensive city in Washington State. Bellevue, Mercer Island, through here, Clyde Hill, all these areas, the most expensive areas in Washington State that you can live. And so it's a completely different atmosphere than Seattle. So, you know, some prefer the creative, more unique, older architecture style of Seattle, while some prefer the more cleanliness, more bougie, more higher end nature of Bellevue. So let's jump in, let's look around Bellevue a little bit. So you can see the map here. We were just in Seattle. So Bellevue is just over the water, just over Lake Washington. You can come over I-90, the I-90 bridge here, or you can come over the 520 bridge. 520 bridge is a toll bridge. Both of these bridges get very busy during rush hour times. You know, you're less than 10 miles from Seattle to Bellevue, but it can take a little bit of time to drive in those, you know, heavier rush hour traffic times because so many people live in this area. But as we zoom into Bellevue here, they do have a nice big downtown Bellevue Square area. As we'll zoom in, so you can see through here, there's a lot of condos and apartments through here. You've got Bellevue Square, which is a big mall through here, one of the biggest malls in the area. So if you need to go out for a day of shopping or whatnot, this is a great place to go. They've got the Bellevue Downtown Park right here, which again, you can just see these open grassy fields. So you can have a picnic, throw the Frisbee for your dog, kids can play soccer, whatever the case is. They've really focused on, in all of these cities, you can tell here in the Seattle metropolitan area, they really focus on implementing outdoor recreation opportunities right within the city centers here. And through Bellevue Way here and next to Bellevue Town Square, you're going to have a lot of those high-end fine dining restaurants through here. There's a lot of them here in downtown Bellevue. That's really what it's known for, one of those things, of just those high-end restaurants. Some of them at the top of these towers, some really nice steakhouses. So that's Bellevue for you. And you're going to have all of this condo and apartment living through here, through downtown. As you get outside of downtown, you're going to feel a little bit more suburban, but you're still going to be that urban lifestyle because you're still so close to the downtown Bellevue area. In Northwest Bellevue, you're going to have a lot of neighborhoods through here. As we zoom out and we go to the south side in West Bellevue, and you go over to the other side of 405, you've got a lot of neighborhoods through here. You've got Lake Hills and over to the Lake Sammamish side. You've got a lot of neighborhoods through here where you're going to have homes, you know, in the 1940s and 50s and all the way up to brand new construction. You're not going to have a ton of like massive brand new construction communities through here because most of Bellevue was built out 20, 30 years ago, but you are going to have a number of one-off custom luxury homes. You are going to have some smaller luxury home neighborhoods where maybe it's 5 to 20 different luxury homes in one neighborhood. So there's a lot of different options in terms of real estate here in the Bellevue area, but this is going to be your alternative to Seattle. If you're not a huge fan of Seattle and not a huge fan of everything going on down there, Bellevue could be a great alternative for you if it does fit within the budget. All right, so those are the two main like urban sprawling downtown areas that you could focus on if you're looking for that urban living lifestyle. Maybe you're really relying on public transportation. Both of them work well for that fact, and so those would be great options to consider. Now I want to talk about suburban locations as well. Now when we talk about the Seattle metropolitan area, there's over 70 different suburbs or cities outside of Seattle that are considered Seattle metropolitan. Again, not going over all of them on this one video. Now I have covered pretty much every single one of them on my channel where I've got nearly 200 videos now, but I want to go over some of the more popular ones that people really focus on when they're relocating over here for various different reasons. Now the first area, suburban area I want to go over here is really the Bothell and Mill Creek area here. It's just north of Bellevue, just north of the east side. So let's jump into the map again here. So you can see we're right in Bellevue down here. So you've got Bothell and Mill Creek right up through here. So the great thing about living in these locations is the proximity to those jobs. You can live in these locations and commute to your job 5 days a week. So there's a lot of people that will work, say, in Microsoft, which is right here between Bellevue and Redmond, and they'll just commute on I-405 through here. They'll get up to Bothell, or they'll come up to Mill Creek and live up here. And that commute is very doable 5 days a week. Alternatively, maybe you live in Seattle, or you work in Seattle and you live in one of these locations. You can still jump over from Mill Creek. You can jump on I-5 and go all the way down I-5 to Seattle there. Or if you're in Bothell, you can head up 405 and merge onto I-5 there, or you can take 522 the back way through Kenmore on top of Lake Washington and down into the shoreline area and onto I-5 there into Seattle. So there's some options for sure to commute either direction. And so that's why one big reason why people love this area and why it's blown up so much over the recent years is because of how commuter friendly it is. Now, when it comes to Bothell, they've got a little downtown area here that's really been revitalized over the recent years. You've got Bothell Landing Park right here, right outside of downtown. So this is great if you've got, you want to take your kids to the park or you want to take advantage of the trail. It's right along the Sammamish River. So you've got the Sammamish River Trail right here. So if you want to launch a kayak or a paddleboard, or you just want to walk down the trail, ride your bike, whatever it is. Again, more outdoor recreation centered around all of these cities. Right in downtown here, they've really started to build this out over the recent years. So you're going to have apartments and condos through here, and you're going to have a lot of restaurants, so very walkable in the downtown area itself, and a lot of amenities you can take advantage of. As you get outside of downtown, it is completely suburbia. You've got all these neighborhoods through here. You can see all these neighborhoods through here, where you've got a lot of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s built homes through the entire Bothell area. You can find a lot of different things through here. Bothell has also had a lot of new construction over the last 10 years. They're starting to run out of land. There's only so much land left available to develop here in Bothell. But if you don't want a 60s, 70s, 80s built home, there's a lot of newer neighborhoods that have popped up in the last decade where you could find a resale, or there's still some new ones through here as well. Here's one of them right here, you can see. So a lot of, your cookie cutter builder neighborhoods through here that are going to be smaller lot sizes, your typical suburbia, and all of your shopping and stuff is nearby here in Bothell. You're convenient to pretty much everything. As you continue to go up north to Mill Creek. Mill Creek's another popular spot because it's just to the north of Bothell. You can get a little bit more of a break on those home prices because of that, but still commuter friendly. The great thing about Mill Creek is Mill Creek Town Center through here. So this is a kind of a newer built out town center, newer as in the last couple of decades, but there's a lot of restaurants and shops and doctor's offices, hair salons, all that kind of stuff through here in Mill Creek Town Center. Now, what people really like about Mill Creek that I found is the Mill Creek Country Club neighborhood. It's my favorite neighborhood in Mill Creek. So this is your typical suburbia. This was, your master plan community back in the 80s and 90s. You can see here on Village Green Drive, you've got the golf course through here, and there's a lot of nice homes through here as well. Anywhere from 1,500 square feet to 3,000 plus square feet. Some really nice homes, and they're not all cookie cutter. Like a lot of the brand new neighborhoods that we get these days, all the homes look exactly the same. They might have 3 different exterior elevations that they use, but pretty much they all look the same. Versus a neighborhood like this that was master plan in the 80s and 90s. There's a lot more character with these homes. There's a lot different styles. You can see just by these roof lines how every one of these homes is different just on this, little section of this street. And as we zoom out and move around, you're going to have so many different types of styles. So there's that uniqueness there, but it's a very nice neighborhood. It's an HOA neighborhood, so everything is well maintained. And if I lived in Mill Creek, this is definitely where I would live. Love this neighborhood. It's got a great vibe to it, and is just overall a very nice spot. Now, when you're in Bothell and Mill Creek, that median home price is just over $1 million. So for a lot of people, it becomes an affordability issue to be able to be right in this area. So they start looking elsewhere on where they might be able to live that is still centered in suburbia. You can go further north all the way up I-5 to places like Lake Stevens in Marysville, where those median home prices will drop closer to $700,000 to $800,000, and you might have a lot more room in your budget to be able to buy a home there. When you go that far north, being able to commute 5 days a week to Seattle or Bellevue becomes a serious issue and becomes very difficult. There's a lot of people that do live in these Lake Stevens and Marysville areas that commute 2 or 3 days a week. So if that sounds like you, maybe you're commuting part-time, or maybe you work fully remote and you want to be in a place where you can get more for your money, Lake Stevens and Marysville could be great suburbs to check out as well. Now, staying in theme with this, trying to find some places more affordable, there's a lot of suburbs that I could talk about on the east side by Bellevue, suburbs like Kirkland, Redmond, Sammamish, and Issaquah that are all going to be much more expensive. They're all going to be in the 1.5 to 1.8 median price range for those homes, and those can be very, very nice areas to live in. And I've got a lot of clients that have moved into those areas. I'm not going to dive too deep into them on this video because I've talked about them so much on other videos, but just keep those in mind. If that is within your budget and you want to be close to that Bellevue area, but not right in Bellevue, check out Issaquah and Sammamish and some of those surrounding cities. But the next one that I want to talk about is just south of Issaquah, and it's called Maple Valley. Now, Maple Valley has seen an explosion in new construction and more neighborhoods going in over the last decade because of the demand down there. When people say, hey, Issaquah has gotten really expensive for me, I don't want to be too much further away, but I want to be able to get more for my money, Maple Valley has been that location. So let's jump in. Let's look at Maple Valley here. So you can see it right down here. We're directly south of Issaquah. You can see where we are in relation to Bellevue and Seattle. So again, if you live in Maple Valley, commuting 5 days a week to Bellevue or Seattle, there's people that do it. I don't know that I would do it. It is going to be a little bit tougher of a commute. You can see here out of Maple Valley, you can take 165 all the way through into Renton and then go up to Bellevue or Seattle from there. But it is a bit of a drive. So a lot of people that live down in Maple Valley commute two or three days a week, or they might work remotely. A lot of people are attracted to Maple Valley here because of the school district. It's got Tahoma School District, which is one of the highest rated in the area. And so that's, you combine that with the home prices being closer to $850,000, $900,000 for those median prices, and it becomes much more attractive for people to move to if they can't quite afford to be on the east side there near Bellevue or Issaquah, something like that. Here in Maple Valley, you've got all of your shopping and everything nearby. You've got Wilderness Village with a QFC. As you go further up the road here, you've got Fred Meyer in this shopping center down here. And so Maple Valley is very self-sufficient. You don't need to go to other neighborhoods or nearby cities for all of your shopping. Everything is pretty much right here in Maple Valley. You can see all of these new home communities that have gone in here over the last decade. Again, these regular tract home communities that we see that are constantly developed over the recent years. So there's a lot of homes like that. If you're focused on new construction or newer construction in general, Maple Valley is going to have a lot of options like that. And then as you get through down here on the south side, some of these are older neighborhoods, but again, these more tight-knit suburban type communities all throughout Maple Valley is definitely a great place that you might be able to consider. All right, now I want to talk about one more suburban location here in the Seattle metropolitan area, and specifically I want to talk about this one because I've had a lot of clients recently relocate to this area, and it's become more and more popular. It was kind of a hidden gem before, but more and more people have become aware of it, and it offers a lot. And so it's kind of this tucked away hidden gem in a location you wouldn't think about, and provides a great spot for people to live, and that is Gig Harbor. So Gig Harbor is tucked away past Tacoma. It's a ways away from Seattle, so not super commuter friendly, but it can be a great spot for the right person. So as we jump in here and look again, Gig Harbor is right over here next to Tacoma. Now again, if you work in Seattle or Bellevue, I would not live in Gig Harbor. That commute, you're going to be going through I-5 here in Tacoma all the way up to Seattle or Bellevue, and that is a brutal, brutal commute. Even if you're doing it two or 3 days a week, I don't think I would ever do that. I'm sure there's certainly people that do, but this is better for somebody that works maybe closer to the south side or works remote or is retired, something like that. But Gig Harbor is kind of this hidden gem through here as you get past Tacoma because of what it offers. It's absolutely picturesque and beautiful. You know, you're right on the water here. You can be, you know, right downtown and see the marina. You've got a lot of restaurants through here, through downtown. So Anthony's, great seafood restaurant through here, and all the way up here on this road, you've got a lot of great restaurants all the way around through the marina, and you've got some condo complexes and all sorts of stuff through here. So it's an absolutely beautiful place to live, especially on a nice sunny day where you can see the water and all the sailboats and everything hanging out there. It's one of the most picturesque places for sure in the Seattle metropolitan area. It is going to be a little bit older here in town if you want to live right in town here. There's a lot of neighborhoods spread throughout here where you're going to have some older craftsman homes, some older Rambler single family or single level homes spread throughout. But the median home price here is, again, it's going to be much more friendly compared to places closer to Seattle and Bellevue. It's going to be, the median prices are closer to $800,000, $850,000, and so it provides more options for people. So you can be on this side of Gig Harbor, and there's a lot of homes like in Shore Acres here with great sound views that are just absolutely gorgeous homes with panoramic views of the water. It's very, very hard to beat. You can go to the east side, or sorry, the west side of Gig Harbor as you come out to Artendale out here, where you're going to have more options for, you know, more private property. You can see just on the shading on the map here how much more wooded it is here on the west side of Gig Harbor. So a lot of privacy in these neighborhoods. You've got the Gig Harbor Golf Club through here, and some really nice homes and master plan communities through Gig Harbor. And then as you get up north, Canterwood is one of the best neighborhoods in Gig Harbor for sure. It's on a golf course community through here, so beautiful homes, really well maintained. We talked about the Mill Creek Country Club earlier, similar neighborhood to that where it's on the golf course, similar year of homes, really, really well maintained. If I lived in Gig Harbor, this is probably the neighborhood that I would personally live in. And then you can come here all the way to the west side of Gig Harbor, and you can have a great view of Henderson Bay, more view homes. So there's a lot of different types of real estate in Gig Harbor and a much more friendly price point, and people really, really seem to love this area. I rarely get negative comments about Gig Harbor at all, unless it's from somebody that's commuting, because that commute to Seattle or Bellevue would be pretty brutal, but otherwise super, super pleasant place to live. All right, so that wraps up both the urban and the suburban categories. Before this video becomes too extremely long, let's jump into the rural categories. I've got 3 cities that I'm going to go over here. There's more than 3 cities that can satisfy that rural requirement. Now, everybody's got a different definition of rural. Maybe for you, that's just 1+ acre lots, or maybe that's 50+ acre lots. Really, with rural categories here, I'm just talking about places where there's a lot higher percentage of homes that have, you know, acreage, where you have a lot more privacy, whether that's a couple acres or that's 10 to 50 acres. There's a lot of cities through here, and primarily located on the east side of Seattle Metropolitan, that are going to fit this criteria. I'm going to point out 3 of the most common that people end up looking in, so you can decide if any of those would work for you. The first one I want to talk about here is for this north. We'll go north to south. We're going to talk about Arlington, way up north here. Now, Arlington is on the edge of Seattle Metropolitan, so again, if you're commuting into Seattle or Bellevue every day, probably not something you want to do. Let's look at the map here. So you can see Seattle down here. Arlington is all the way up here. It's about 45 miles directly north of Seattle. Again, if you worked 1 or 2 days a week in office, there's definitely people that make that drive, but it can be a brutal drive in rush hour times. The great thing about Arlington is there is a lot of land. There's a absolute ton of acreage properties in Arlington at a more affordable price point than any of the other areas we're going to talk about here on this video for rural properties. So as you zoom in here, you can see all this farmland throughout Arlington. So whether you want a 1 acre plot or a 50 acre plot, there's a lot of options here through Arlington. Now, the great thing is Arlington really gives you that small town feel, and you're still close to all the things that you need, really. So you have downtown Arlington right here, which is a great little historic downtown area. There's a lot of restaurants down here and shops, boutiques. They do a ton of community events through here for the kids and parades and all sorts of stuff, and it's a great little community. You've got the Stillaguamish River right here, so you can float the river, you can raft, kayak, all that kind of stuff. A lot of outdoor recreation around here. You've got the Centennial Trail through here as well, so a nice paved trail. So in terms of outdoor recreation, a ton of options in Arlington. The median home price in Arlington is under $600,000, which is the cheapest of any of the areas we're talking about on this video. Now, if you want big acreage, you're not getting it for $600,000 with a nice home, but just in general, that median home price is so much cheaper than those other areas. On the south side of Arlington, you have the Smoky Point area, which is where your Costco is, your Target, your Safeway, your Walmart. It's all all right here. Your Lowe's, everything is close by. They've got a little private airfield. This is not a commercial airport. It's a private airfield for smaller planes. So there's there's everything here in Arlington that you need for convenience, but you can see all this opportunity for land. You can go to the Bryant area, which I really love. It's a very beautiful area through here. It's a little bit more wooded. There is definitely some open plots of land, but some great properties through here, and you can continue to go out through Tafton all the way out here, and there's just so much opportunity for rural properties through here. Really an endless supply of acreage properties if that's something you're looking for and you're not having to rely on commuting into Seattle or Bellevue. All right, now the second place that I want to talk about for rural properties here is just a little bit south of Arlington. It's called Snohomish. Now Snohomish, again, it's very similar to Arlington. I would compare the two to be very similar. Snohomish is definitely more expensive, but Snohomish also has that historic downtown area like Arlington has, and then out from there it expands to some in-town craftsman older homes, and then you expand out into a lot of acreage property. So let's jump back into the map here. Let's look at Snohomish. So we were up here in Arlington. Now we're just coming right down here to Snohomish. Now Snohomish becomes a lot more doable if you have some sort of commute. So there is a number of like Microsoft workers that live in Snohomish. You can see Microsoft is just down here, just south of Redmond. A lot of people will come live up here in Snohomish and make that commute maybe 2 or 3 days a week. Now, like I mentioned, Snohomish does have that historic downtown area. We go here all the time. It's right along the Snohomish River. Again, a lot of shops, boutiques, events, restaurants, a lot of stuff going on down here. It's a very cool area right here in downtown. As you go just out from downtown, you've got all these historic neighborhoods with a lot of early 1900s craftsman homes where you can be super walkable into downtown. And then they have more suburbs throughout as you expand a little bit further. They've got Blackman's Lake, so again, a lot of recreational opportunities. There's trails everywhere. But like I said, on this video, we're talking about acreage properties. So here on the west side of Highway 9, which runs through Snohomish, you have the Phobes Hill neighborhood. Now, Phobes Hill has a ton of properties that are anywhere from an acre to 10 acres. You can see all these properties, how much bigger these plots of land are. There's some newer homes. There's some early 1900s homes and everything in between. So there's a lot of different options through here. And you can see you can have good acreage, multiple acres, and you can be 5 minutes from Fred Meyer, the grocery store, and Home Depot is right here too, and all the restaurants here and in town. So you can be so close to everything and so convenient, but still have that acreage and that privacy that you might be looking for. That's specifically the Phobes Hill neighborhood. As you continue to scroll out a little bit here and you go the other direction east, you get like the Three Lakes neighborhood here, which again is not very far away, but there's a ton of acreage properties through here. This is a little bit more wooded than the Phobes Hill side. Phobes Hill is a little bit more open. There's plenty of trees because you're in the Pacific Northwest, but it's a little bit more open farmlandy versus over here in Three Lakes, there's a bit more tree coverage and a bit more wooded properties and a good mix of everything. You can continue to go further out to Lake Rosinger, which again is only 15 or so minutes to town, 15 to 20 minutes to town. It's not bad at all, and you can feel much more private with all this acreage property out here. So this is a great spot for that property. Snohomish is known for wedding venues and pumpkin patches and corn mazes and Christmas tree farms and all that kind of stuff. Snohomish is one of my top 5 favorite cities in the Seattle metropolitan area for sure. Absolutely love Snohomish. It offers a lot of different things and can be semi-commutable for those of you that have to go into Seattle or Bellevue for work. Maybe not 5 days a week, but if you're going in a couple days a week, could be semi-commutable. All right, so we're going to go over one other area here. Appreciate you sticking with me on this video. Hopefully you found value in this. The last area that we're going to go over here is a little bit further south of Snohomish here, but it is the easiest, I guess I would say, easiest when it comes to commuting to a job specifically into Bellevue or Redmond. So if you're Microsoft, TikTok, Amazon, any of those offices, and I only mentioned tech companies. There's a lot of companies on the east side, not just tech, healthcare, all sorts of stuff. But if you're commuting into that east side, this is going to be the easiest in terms of commuting in there, and this city is called Duval. Let's jump back into the map here. Let's take a look at it. So we talked about Arlington up here. We talked about Snohomish. Now we are coming to Duval right here. So you can see all these rural property areas are located on the east side, because the west side we have the water. So there's not rural property near the water for the most part. So you can see the location of Duval here. You've got Redmond right here. You've got Microsoft right here. So commuting to and from. Again, there's a lot of people over the years that have moved into Duval because of this reason. So is traffic ever easy over here in rush hour times? Doesn't matter where you live. Traffic is never easy. But this, in terms of finding a place with great rural property where you feel much more private, that you could go into Microsoft 5 days a week, or one of these companies on the east side, or you work at one of these hospitals, Overlake Hospital or something, this becomes a fantastic location to get that. Now, Duval isn't quite as robust as Arlington and Snohomish are. Duval's a little bit smaller, a little bit quieter. It does have a downtown, historic, Main Street downtown. It's not as built out. There's not as many things down there as Snohomish and Arlington, but there is some restaurants down there. There is some cool boutiques and shops and whatnot. You are right along the river here as well, so if you want to take advantage of river activities, that's certainly an option. In terms of your big shopping, they've got some grocery stores here, but you don't have a Costco here, so you're going to have to go to, in like hospitals, and a lot of your doctor's appointments might, be in a nearby city. You might need to go over to Redmond for most of that, or you could go over to Woodinville. Those are the two most common places people will go to for, the bigger shopping trips or the hospital visits, things like that. But it's not far away. Again, Duval to Woodinville or Redmond without traffic is 15 to 20 minutes. Can be a little bit longer with traffic for sure, but it's definitely a doable location. Now you can see all this land here in Duval, and we've had kind of this common theme over here with these rural communities, as you have these sections with a lot of open farmland. So if that's something that you're looking for, there's a lot of places like that. You can see how open all of this land is as it winds through the Snoqualmie River. A lot of places through here. As you get to the other side of Highway 203 in Duval here, it becomes much more wooded. But there's a lot of great properties out here. I had a client recently purchase a home out here on 10 acres in Duval, a 5,000 square foot custom home for about $1.5 million, and it was a great spot for them, and was commutable to work every day. You've got a lot of hiking trails through here because you are located so much further east. You have such great access to trails and outdoor activities, and again, activities right on the Snoqualmie River as well. If you want to go swimming, if you want to take out a kayak, go float down the river, something like that. This is one of the best spots for outdoor recreation for sure. I absolutely love Duval. You have some homes in town still, so if you want to be kind of in a smaller town feel, but you don't want acreage, you do have your typical suburbia kind of track homes through here right in town, but there's going to be a lot of acreage opportunities you can see through here in Duval, and that's why it's become so popular. All right, well, that wraps up the three categories here. Again, these are some of the most common locations to fit these three criteria: urban, suburban, rural. There's lots of great locations around here. If you are relocating over here, or maybe you already live in this area and you need some help with finding the right spot and purchasing a home, and have more questions about some of these areas or some of the other cities, I am an active real estate broker here in the Seattle area, and as always, I'm happy to help you. I've loved helping all of you out over the last 4 years since I started this YouTube channel on helping you relocate over here and find the right home. Absolutely love it. So don't hesitate to reach out. You can call or text me, or you can book a call with me down below at the link in the description, and would be happy to chat with you. Thanks for sticking with me to the end on this one. I know it was a longer one, but hopefully it was valuable for you. Again, happy to help with any additional info or questions that you might have. Thanks for watching this one.